lacerations on my body should be healed within the month. But speaking of stuff that'll scare a buzzard off a meat wagon, right now the Tall Man is about to enter your living room in Phantasm 2, the sequel it took Don Coscarelli 9 years to make. It has 3 flying silver balls instead of the 1 in the original flick, and a severed hand instead of a levitating severed finger. But otherwise, it's the same deal. The Tall Man is taking corpses down to his mortuary and turning them into killer midget monks again. So let's take a look at those drive-in totals and get started. We've got 12 dead bodies, exploding house, 1 4-barreled sawed-off shotgun, dwarf tossing, 10 breasts. Of course, those are scissored out of the TNT version. Embalming needles plunged through various parts of various bodies. 1 motor vehicle chase with crash and burn. Ear lopping, forehead drilling, wrist hacking, bimbo flinging, grandma bashing, devil sex, crematorium foo, flamethrower foo. And this movie contains the most terrifying scene I've ever witnessed. A perfectly decent 1971 Hemi Cuda flipping over, landing on its roof, and bursting into flame. I cried for 2 hours. It's amazing what they'll let these people do for the sake of a goddamn movie. A Hemi Cuda, greatest muscle car ever made. So many horses in that baby you couldn't get insurance for it. They use it for a stupid movie stunt. It's like cutting up the Mona Lisa, you know? It's like destroying the original poker-playing dogs. Anyway, 4 stars on this movie. Outstanding. Check it out and we'll be here. And you know, we always get letters whenever I say anything about fat people. So let me make this clear. I was not talking, I love fat people. I love them. The fatter, the better. Just don't let us see the folds, okay? Put some clothespins under your pants or something. Take a steam iron to your thighs, you know, but just don't bend over in the aisle at Piggly Wiggly and give us that Jell-O jiggle thing, okay? Deal? The 4-barreled shotgun, the giant blowtorch. You gotta love that stuff. Well, if you didn't see the first Phantasm, you might have a little bit of trouble following this story, but basically the Tall Man is this mortician who has yellow blood, the color of embalming fluid, and he goes around the countryside robbing graves and pumping some kind of yellow fluid into the veins of the dead people and using them somehow to strengthen his army of killer midget monks. Kind of hard to follow, but... And why he blew up that house, I'm not exactly sure. But Don Coscarelli, the writer-director of these things, he spared no expense on that scene. They used a real house that was scheduled for demolition because it was in the path of a new freeway, and they got a Green Beret demolitions expert to rig the explosives. They used 7 cameras because they could only shoot that once, of course. And the money shot was the one where you see the Tall Man in the foreground totally unmoved by the whole scene, you know. Well, it's one thing for the character to be unmoved in the script. You know, it's another thing to tell that actor, Angus Scrimm, we're going to blow up a house right behind you, but just act like nothing bothers you. Just stand there stock still. Don't move an eyelash. But to the man's credit, he did it pretty amazing because that thing had to be deafening. Just the kind of realism we're used to in the Phantasm series. So back to the movie. The Tall Man. Invented by Coscarelli in 1979. I think they ripped off the Tall Man in Poltergeist 2. Remember that sinister preacher in the black suit in Poltergeist 2? Mormon guy who tries to take the little girl to the other side, you know? Julian Beck. Julian was kind of doing a Tall Man, you know? Is nothing sacred? That last shot of the Tall Man sucking that little piece of yellow phlegm off the end of that embalming needle. Oh! Did we just show that? What time is it? A little after 11, you know? Man, oh man, we're getting a call Monday morning from Jesse Helms. I just know it. I mean, I commend the TNT censors for leaving that baby in there, but good grief, yuck, woo! See, they sucked us in. We'd just seen the Catholic priest plunge the big knife into Grandpa's mouth, and that scene was over, and so we relaxed. And then the little embalming needle slurpee happens. Whoa! Go ahead, back to the movie. These phantasms, they keep you off balance. Roll it. Woo. And that was Stacy Travis in that scene, wasn't it? Stacy Travis, star of Hardware. She was the sister who doesn't have time to stay after the funeral. Good job, Stacy. I don't know why your character's in this movie, but good job. In fact, Stacy is now starring in the new Love Boat series on UPN. You know how they're doing it? Love Boat, the next generation. She's the perky one. Because we've got the drunken Catholic priest, we've got the beautiful oversexed hitchhiker, we've got the ESP going on between Liz and Mike, we've got the middle-aged bald guy with a ponytail who, if you remember from the first movie, is actually an ice cream vendor. And why would the tall man suddenly decide to torture Grandma? Anyway, we got a whole bunch of plot getting in the way of the story, and also there's something Catholic about it. We've got crucifixes out the wazoo in this movie. We got Catholic churches, Catholic priests. It's got that gloomy exorcist feeling going on. Now, remember last time I talked about this, we had angry Catholics writing in. But look, it's not my fault if the movie is Catholic. Write to Don Coscarelli. He's an Italian guy. Maybe he's Catholic. I don't know. But he wrote the movie, directed the movie. He invented those midget friars that hang around the mortuaries playing with dead things. But we love Catholics at TNT. So go back to the movie, because if I keep talking about Catholics, they're going to get mad. Roll it. I've said many times, I'm a major fan of the Catholic Church. And we've shown many Catholic movies here on Monstervision. The Exorcist. The Omen. Should I mention that great drive-in double feature again? You know, the great Catholic double feature? Nah. I get in trouble every time I do it. Yes? Should I do it? Nah, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I mean, I drink your blood and I eat your skin. A little extracurricular aardvarkus there between Reggie Bannister and Samantha Phillips, who plays the hitchhiker. And thank God we finally got to see those flying steel balls with the Cuisinart drill that pumps all the blood out of your forehead. We were like 54 minutes into the movie before we had a single flying steel ball. But now we know it's a Phantasm movie because we got your embalming, we got your forehead drilling, and we've got your killer midget monk in grandma forms. You know, you're probably wondering, is the tall man really tall, or is that movie magic? Well, that actor, Angus Scrimm, is actually 6'4". So, is that tall? I'm 6'4", but in the NBA, that's a really small guard. So, anyhow, Angus Scrimm has been in several movies, but Phantasm was his first horror film role, and it led to him being used in several other movies as a Boris Karloff-type villain. But his real job, his day job, he's a journalist. He writes articles for TV Guide and a lot of film magazines under his real name, which is Lawrence Rory Guy. And he's been nominated 7 times for the Grammy because he writes liner notes for albums and CDs. And he won a Grammy for his liner notes on an album of film soundtracks. But he's written liner notes for Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Edith Piaf. But when he gets the chance, he likes to ugly himself up and do movies like Mind Warp and Chopping Mall. And he's from Kansas City, but he went out to Hollywood to be an actor. And his first job was as an usher at the Paramount Theater in downtown L.A., where he memorized every line of dialogue from the movie they were showing, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So the man knows his horror. Okay, back to the flick. Did you notice, Ernie, that little reference to Edith Piaf? Mm-hmm. Famous French cabaret chanteuse. I'm not gay. Why would they go in there and then say, let's split up and meet back here in 15 minutes? Why would anybody in a horror flick ever split up? Anyway, that makes me mad. But nothing makes me madder than watching that mint condition 1971 Hemi Cuda get totally destroyed in that crash scene. What were they thinking? That car, you could just barely touch the gas pedal and that car would make a sound like a 747 taking off. Engine in that thing was so big you had to use a booster seat to see over that thing. People would drive 100 miles in that car and they'd say, honey, did we hit something? You know, better stop the car, go around and look at the grill work, and you go around there, there'd be a Canadian moose with its eyes bulging out, you know? Felt like maybe you ran over a garden hose. That was the most powerful car ever built, the greatest of all the muscle cars. And now we have one less Hemi Cuda in the universe. You couldn't even get insurance on those things. You got to go to Lloyd's of London, make a deal where if you get in any kind of accident, they get to hack off your hand or something. You say, can I get a policy on this car? And they say, sure, it's the same agent who writes policies on the F-16 fighter plane. But anyway, that's just irresponsible. Because, you know, anytime they ruffle the fur on a poodle in a movie, you got the ASPCA complaining, you got PETA protesting, you got people going to jail for poodle abuse, but you just trash a beautiful machine like that with impunity. I'm sick. You know, go ahead, roll film. You like the way I said impunity? Yeah. No idea what that means. I just got carried away. But don't impugn my impunity, man, because I'll make you feel pretty dang puny. Impunity. I think it means without punity, no punity. Away 4 dwarves with 1 shot from the 4-barrel shotgun. And now we know it's a Phantasm movie because we've got cremated zombies. We got the zombie who has to hack his hand off to get away. Another excellent scene that the TNT sensors left in. We've got the exploding rat. We got the old chainsaw to the groin. We got the golden flying drilling spear. All this stuff comes out of the mind of Don Coscarelli, and he just flashes it up there on the screen, and we never know exactly what it all means, but it looks cool. Kind of an existentialist sort of thing, you know. Don's a weird guy. He wrote his first movie when he was 17 years old. He directed it when he was 18. It was called Jim the World's Greatest, starring Angus Scrimm, and that's where he met the tall man. And then he made a comedy about children called Kenny and Company, but it's Phantasm that everybody remembers. It was a low-budget horror flick. It came out in 1979, became a big hit, made about $12 million, and then he didn't want to get typecast as just a horror director, so he didn't do the sequel for 9 years. And in between Phantasm and Phantasm 2, he wrote and directed The Beastmaster, which is, of course, one of the most popular movies we have on TNT. But here's how weird Don is. He doesn't even like The Beastmaster. He says it's a movie that he lost control of, and he just flat doesn't like it. And the woman who wrote the book The Beastmaster is based on, she hated the movie so much she has to have her name taken off the credits. So we got this big hit movie, and nobody that had anything to do with making it wants to take credit for it. So go figure. All right, now it's time for the stunning conclusion to Phantasm 2. And we know it's stunning because Don can't do anything except stun us over and over and over again. So roll it. And Reggie Bannister, the guy with the 4-barreled shotgun and the chainsaw, he is a Vietnam vet and a former folk singer. Remember the group Stone Country? No. Neither does Reggie, though. So, but anyway, he looks like he was in Nam, right? And he's got that ponytail, you know? You guys still wear those? Yeah? Only weenies in France, I think. Oh, Ernie. Ernie listens to Edith Piaf, huh?